we'll start streaming.
Yeah, because this week has been not fun. The flu and all of that.
Oh, actually, how do I not unfocus this person? There we go.
Oh, there we go.
So, it's not perfect, but I'll have to do. So yeah, I don't. Where is Josh?
I don't know.
Why?
Because I've been in a semi-conscious state all week. I have not. I just today started feeling better.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thankfully.
Oh, so I just texted him.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. No. Thankfully, doctors agreed with me when I said I didn't feel good and I did not think that I could actually be, retail or
Yeah.
doing brief changes at 2 a.m. Like, because they're like, yeah, no, we don't want you near anybody right now.
Yeah.
So I know Joey has heard me coughing, so he knows I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yep.
And and my mother's boyfriend brought me Gatorade, which usually I will never drink
Yeah.
ever. But light blue when I am sick.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, it's just been a lot of sleeping. A couple really, really, really weird dreams. Was it earlier this week that I had the dream that I wanted to kidnap Christiane Amanpour?
That's weird and
Yeah,
oddly specific.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's what happens when I just sleep for 72 hours plus.
hmm.
Is I dream that I need to kidnap Christiane Amanpour. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it's no Critical Role dream, but
nope.
but it's up there with the random.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll. I don't know. We'll
I don't know.
see if. I mean, I'll keep Messenger open in case he
Yeah,
texts back.
yeah,
But I mean, he should be able to just jump right in. So
yeah. He can
yeah,
whenever he
yeah. I mean, the call's
whatever.
active, so he should just be able to
Yeah,
join the call.
yeah.
So, I mean, you don't sound well. So, oh, here we go.
Oh, there we go.
It was me, Dio, all along.
Dio.
No, it's honestly this is the most talking
Dio.
I've done. Besides to the doctor the other day, this is the most talking I've done to somebody in the last week. Literally. What is that
What the
big?
hell are you
I'm
eating?
not. I'm not gonna finish the statement that
Oh,
just came through my head.
Fit crunch.
so
Super
it's a
hungry. I wanted something
fitness
kind of
bar.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's sugar and sawdust. That's the one.
Here. 380 calories. 25% fat. That's good. I want high fat actually for my diet.
Yeah.
Sodium. Oh, it's got a lot of potassium. That's good. Oof, 27 carbs. That's too many carbs. Oh well.
Yeah.
I gotta take my vitamins.
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 Okay.
I don't know. I think I'm lacking certain vitamins because I'm getting like these weird heart palpitations. So it's either that or I'm just developing some type of anxiety. But
That one is more likely.
I actually think it's the vitamins.
Vitamins don't cause your heart to have palpitations
Sure they do.
Unless
It's your
you're like
electrolytes.
electrolytes and vitamins are different.
Electrolytes are vitamins.
No comment.
They all fall under the same umbrella.
No comment.
Trust me. I took like 2 semesters of physical therapy. I'm basically a doctor.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which is why I've been pounding back light blue Gatorade because of the vitamins in it. Yeah.
Vitamins.
I'm the one who grew up near frickin' Canada. I'm the one who's supposed to have weird shit like that coming out of my mouth.
I lived around enough British people for long enough to start doing that. Although I never started saying cheers instead of thank you. I couldn't do that one. So how goes it, everyone?
I'm alive.
That's good.
Well, considering this time last week, I was not sure if that statement was going to be able to happen.
Yeah, we have we've got some kind of really bad virus that's going on around the office right now.
I was sick
Yeah.
last week.
I wish this was just a virus. No, this is this isn't just some virus. This is the flu.
This thing does kind of look like a dookie.
That's not
Yeah.
what I was thinking it was, but
Big black dildo?
yeah, kind of.
I'm glad
Are we
I
on
tagged this.
stream?
I'm glad I tagged the stream for mature audiences.
Sorry, I didn't know we were on stream yet.
We were on stream.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
We were just like, I don't know if Josh is showing up. We're going.
Yeah, we
No.
were literally just like, okay, we're just gonna go, and
So.
then here you were.
All right.
But
So let Josh finish chewing, and then
No, sorry.
we'll be ready.
yeah, we'll let him get that down.
I should have got my push to talk on for a sec.
So I guess, do we want to do quest log tonight?
I'd prefer not to, or I'll duck out before if you guys want to.
I mean, we can put it off.
We can
Yeah.
do gloves. I don't care.
It's the next one up is warlocks. So
I thought that we were done with the playing with class, or was
No,
was
we
No.
have
Warlocks-
warlocks and Wisman.
wizards.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then once we finish those, then we might discuss just dumping quest log.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah. All right. We good?
Good enough.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Going live in 5, 4, 3,
Leroy!
2, 1. Coming up on episode 126, Imperius joins the Nexus. Courtney saw Aquaman, The Legend of Zelda Minus World, and much, much more on the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Oh, what is going on with this? Did I set this? Hang on.
I can't believe you've done that.
What the heck? The volume all the way down? Oh, I know what's happening. It's I probably have to find all my bumpers again
Oh no.
because they moved.
So did we not start?
No, we're not starting this yet.
Gotta take another bite of my
Yeah, you got time.
whatever you think this is.
It's when I moved all the stuff off of my external hard drive. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Wish there was a stop function on here, but there isn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to close it and then open it back up. There. All right. Let's just do a test. Okay. All right. There we go.
This is a test.
It all works now. It all works now. So let's do that back up. Okay. Take 2. Going live in 5.
All right, let's do
4,
this. Leroy.
3, 2, 1. Coming up on episode 126, Imperius joins the Nexus. Courtney saw Aquaman, The Legend of Zelda Minus World, and much, much more on the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Back after a couple, just what would you call it? Precarious scheduling, and battling illnesses.
Yes.
So, but we are back. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and with me are my wonderful co-hosts. Playing the part of the wonderful yellow Discord icon, Courtney Bolin.
I'm alive.
And eating some kind of terrifying terrifying snack. Josh York.
Jenkins. Only those of you who are watching the stream will get the first part of my joke.
Yep.
That's my bet. So you saw Aquaman, like you saw him in like a fever dream, or like
No, actually, physically went to go see the movie.
Oh.
Before I got sick. Yeah, when I went to go see my dad, a couple weeks ago out in Texas, we went to go see Aquaman, and because he was like, "Oh, have you seen it yet?" And I'm like, "Actually, no, I haven't, because I have no life." And so something that we usually do when I go and visit him is we do go and see whatever new awesome movie is out. This time it was Aquaman, and it was good.
Yep.
I liked it. Yeah.
Was it good, or was it just good because Jason Momoa is like a super handsome man?
Porque dos?
Mm.
Oh, don't make me laugh. You guys are gonna make me cough if I laugh.
So, I mean, it is currently the highest box office grossing DC extended universe movie.
I think it's purely because he's the most good-looking superhero they have.
Well, yeah,
I would
duh.
agree.
His first actual line is permission to come aboard. I mean, yes, please, thank you.
They knew what they were doing.
Oh, absolutely.
They knew exactly what they were doing. But
Absolutely.
I think it's hilarious though, because Sean, it actually also follows into my one little fun trope of I'll watch anything if it's set in Maine. I'll watch anything.
Oh,
if
it's a Maine. It's a Maine movie.
Technically, yes.
Well, there we go. That means that.
Yes, because Jason Momoa, the Aquaman's father, is a lighthouse keeper in
God,
Maine.
if you set the Emoji movie in Maine, Courtney would go see it.
Yeah, actually, I might.
Yeah.
Just to say I saw it
Yeah.
because it's set in Maine.
But
But so it makes it really fun as a nice thing for that. I I really am not sure how I felt about the actual plot. Um, it was definitely a plot about pretty people to watch pretty people. Um, it generally.
So what you're saying is that they could greenlight an Aquaman TV series on the CW and it would transition really well.
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yes, it would.
Oh my
Although-
god, yeah, I'm looking at the cast. All these
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nicole Kidman, Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
The cast is made up of gorgeous people.
Dolph
So-
Lundgren is like 70 and he's still
and
looks
he
like
still
he,
looks amazing.
he looks like he's 40. He is
Yeah.
a good-looking man. That jaw, man.
Anyway,
Jeez.
but yeah, so it's been out for a couple weeks now, so spoiler if somebody isn't sure. I'm gonna try, and I don't do very well with giving out spoilers anyway, so but general idea though is that the citizens of Atlantis want to basically reclaim the world, and everyone in um, all of the different tribes from all of the different seas need to all kind of join together so that they can then declare war upon the surface world. And then Aquaman is like, no, you can't, don't. Well, he's really kicking and screaming.
Classic Aquaman.
Well, he's actually been brought into it by Mara, and she's saying, no, you can't, don't. And he says, I guess she's making me say, no, you can't, don't. Um, and it's finding unity and finding that it's not always the who you think is the bad guys are the bad guys, and it's that whole finding love and being whole, and we're all in this together, and just go High School Musical.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Oh yes, I beat you to that. Come
God.
on, man.
I was about to sing it.
It took a lot for me not to sing it. The only reason why I didn't is because I was going to go to a coughing fit. But that being said, I would definitely watch it again. Um, there's a lot of like actual um like I have enjoyed a whole bunch of different lore around Atlantis and things like that in the past from other media outlets, and I greatly enjoyed seeing this take on Atlantis and on the Atlantean people and how everything kind of works down there is the best way to put it. Um, and seeing the different ways that they've actually gotten the canon with Atlantis and how everything works in regard to in the DC universe as well. Like I really enjoy it, and I actually am planning on somehow seeing it again after it comes out on Netflix. But I won't go and see it again. But I will watch it again.
Tell us, Courtney, is there anybody named Martha in the film?
Not that I can remember,
say
but
the
then
name?
again, not
Okay.
that I can remember.
All right. That already has a
I have,
that,
but I have also been in bed for a week and a half.
but
so,
that already puts it a leg up over like half of the DC films.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I grew up as a DC kid, so like I'm really really enjoying it.
I feel like they marketed this almost, so I'm gonna compare it to like either Guardians or Thor Ragnarok. Almost kind of
It
like
was
a more
marketed
Oh,
lighthearted.
yeah.
very
So
similar to
was
Thor
it-
Ragnarok.
Was it a bit more lighthearted than like Superman or Batman v Superman?
Oh, God,
which were
yeah.
pretty.
Oh yeah, no, those other two are
Gritty.
trash. No. You don't even count those ones in.
I know.
This
Okay.
movie has actually been touted as being a new reboot within the DC universe because they recognize how much of a flaming pile of trash that Batman versus Superman was.
I guess
It's
Wonder Woman. Everyone liked
it's
Wonder
like the
Woman
Fallout
too. I didn't
76
see one.
of
Oof.
yeah.
Ooh,
Insert Roblox death
ooh,
noise.
shots fired.
Those other movies are. This is like it's restarting it
So
in a
Aquaman's
good
gonna
way.
become the Iron Man of the DC universe, basically.
I would be totally okay with
Whereas
that.
Iron Man was always like a B list,
Yeah.
maybe lower, maybe a C tier superhero in the comics. But when they did the MCU, he's like
Yep.
got super, super, super popular.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And I would be 100% okay with that. I would love to see Jason Momoa more or less.
You would
Yeah,
like to
you
see
want
him
to
more
see-
wearing less?
You want, yeah.
Yes.
That's what you
Yes.
want.
Yeah.
Yes.
More
Okay.
in there we go. Other words I was missing.
We got it.
I swear
Yep.
I have words.
Rated
I'm
E for
dragging
everyone.
you. Yeah.
All right. So, why don't we get into our first bit of news besides Aquaman?
Yes.
Imperius, long requested, finally delivered. Leader of the Archangels in the Diablo series. He's a giant.
He's did nothing wrong.
Of course. I mean, out of all the people that you say did nothing wrong, he has the most of a case that you could make.
He's the stereotype of so lawful good, he's almost lawful evil.
Yes. Yeah.
That is almost
Unbending.
horseshoes around.
Unbending lawful good.
Yeah.
That yeah. It's the very sort of black and white version of good versus evil.
I'm cool. I'm down to see. I always thought Imperius to be a cool character, and he's definitely a bruiser from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I'd play him, but I got banned from HOTS until the 15th.
What'd you do?
I was being a bit toxic in a game, I think, and I got reported.
Well, what did you learn?
That my team was trash and they should have played better. I learned nothing. So yeah, I'm
you're the type of and you're the type of person that permabans were made for.
So yeah, I'll have to wait till the 15th to play him.
Yep.
So
I won't.
As Vonnegut said.
I won't. I'm having too much fun playing Monster Hunter, so.
Although I was gonna say I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, so like that's my main game at the moment.
I just got back into Path of Exile as well.
Oh geez, a bunch of my friends play Path, and I tell them
Yep.
to quit. Stop. Why would you do that? Why would you want the sphere grid from Final Fantasy 10 times a million, but way worse and way more convoluted?
No, once you figure it out, it makes sense.
It seems so. I played it for a little bit, and the thing that annoyed me the most was your inventory was about 3 spaces. And I don't know, you pick up a couple items and then you immediately have to go back to town and resell. And the currency was weird. The currency is like crafting items or something. Like I don't know. And then it was. I like talent trees, but that game it's overwhelming. Too much.
It's a skill forest.
I can't.
Yeah. So anyway, but pull it back to Heroes. Just his so Imperius's kit. He's got a charge where you then impale the person on your spear and basically stun them.
I'm into that. Stuns are good.
I can't remember any of his other abilities, to be perfectly honest. That was the only one that really stuck with me.
I feel like he puts stacks of stuff on people, and
something like that.
It does something to his moves. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just remember he's a bruiser. I like that he had a stun. And
one of his ultimates is basically jump.
Yeah, Dragoon all day.
Dragoon jump. Yep. But yeah, he's got something where he does something with I think it's also he slows people down. Is another one. It's something where he's kind of like Doomfist, where you're meant to use his abilities in a certain order for engaging. Where it's like you're supposed to use them in a certain order to do like a combo.
He has a combo.
Yeah.
He has a combo.
Yeah. But
combo breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, on the 15th, So that's what, next Tuesday?
That's when my band
this
drops.
Tuesday?
Perfect.
Oh, well, he's on the PTR right now.
He is on the PTR now.
Yeah, which usually means like in another week or two.
Yeah, it's usually a week or two once they go on PTR.
So, yeah, not much else. I mean, if you want to see Josh and other Josh and myself completely fail at playing Heroes, there is a video, a VOD of that of that stream up on YouTube right now.
I had been playing still a match or two a day, mostly because of that toy event. I was working on completing that, and I finished it, but you didn't get anything great. You get like some sprays and
yeah. I just after that one, and basically playing a bunch of maps that I hate, I was like, you know what, I'm good. I'll go back to playing Monster Hunter.
What's the only I don't know what man I like. I don't know. Braxis Holdout gets annoying.
I like Towers of Doom. Towers of Doom's my favorite.
Which one's? Oh, is that the stupid Ravens?
That's so Towers of Doom is the one where it's
I don't remember any of their
you
names.
you don't attack the core directly. Is you capture shrines and they damage the core for you.
Oh, that's the worst. That is the worst. I hate that one.
Nope, best one.
It's so annoying.
'Tis the best one.
Nobody ever does what they're supposed to. Ever. No one's ever where they should be.
That's every map.
No, that one in particular, because sometimes there's 3 objectives up at once.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a cluster.
But so yeah, let's see what else we got. The former Hearthstone team, or basically like the kind of core of the Hearthstone team, as we know, left Blizzard to form Second Dinner, an indie game development group. So Ben Brode, Young Woo, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was like the lead producer of Hearthstone. Basically like all left and made this company. Their first project they have gotten a big bunch of investment money for is going to be a Marvel game. And it's going to be mobile. And the investment money came from NetEase, which Blizzard fans might know as the company that Blizzard is working with to develop Diablo Immortal.
You have phones, don't you?
Yeah.
Joke.
I just thought this bit of news was funny and ironic because everybody was like, "Oh, Second Dinner. Oh, they're going to make a Marvel game for mobile? Oh, yes. And then everybody saw NetEase and they were like, "Oh."
Yo, there's already like 3 Marvel games for mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't there wasn't any other details as to what kind of game, just something that was licensed by Marvel.
It's gonna be a Diablo. It's gonna be an ARPG. It's gonna be an action RPG like Diablo, except Marvel.
Or is it gonna be a card game?
Oh, actually, I think you're right because I don't think there's a Marvel card game right now. I bet it will. Yeah. I think you're right.
Ew.
Yeah, that would put their skills.
I mean, it's basically you have like 3 of the the original lead dev team for Hearthstone working on this project. So
yeah.
It's gonna be a card game.
I mean, that's what I would imagine would be the safe bet.
If I had to put money on it, yeah.
Yup. For NetEase, everybody.
Why?
That sweet Chinese money.
Why?
Get that sweet communist money.
So.
Communist China.
Yeah.
Communist.
Let's see. Other news. Stranger Things 3. It's coming out July 4th.
That's gonna be a fun day.
Yep.
It should just always be Halloween time. This weirds me out. Why 4th of July?
Apparently it's gonna on the show it's gonna be set around 4th of July.
I'm sure that's all.
So at least then it'll make sense.
I mean, that I can kind of get behind because it is around the same time in game. Jesus Christ. In the show, it is around the same time of year that it's being released. So like, I can kind of forgive that. Not like I still can't forgive.
I honestly don't
Solo
care when
in May.
I'm just being silly.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that they actually pushed it back. It was supposed to be Halloween of 2018, and they pushed it back to July of 2019. Uh, and I'm glad they did because apparently season
Oh, did they have
two,
to do? Yeah.
uh, they had to rush season two, and it kind of shows a little bit.
Season 2 was
Yeah.
all right.
It was good, but I mean, it apparently the production crew has noted that it wasn't quite up to what their standards were.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the first season was just lightning striking. I think
Yeah.
you're gonna have a hard time capturing
Yep.
that again.
I mean, also, like, it's tough because you never have expectations after for a first season of anything.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can strike lightning, but like that's great because if you're gonna make this awesome sand thingy with where the lightning strikes, but the entire place is a beach, doesn't matter where it hits, it's gonna all be for the first season. It's all gonna be something beautiful, and now you have to live up to what else has been done.
Well, they just had a lot of
And
a lot of the right ingredients. I
Yeah.
think they
Yeah.
had a big nostalgia thing with the whole '80s vibe. I think that
Yep.
was a lot of it. I think people by
oh,
our
seeing
age,
Winona Ryder go crazy was just my big
well,
thing.
you were just a lot of us who grew up in the '80s/90s. Were like, oh yeah, remember we rode our bikes everywhere, and like, yeah, this is what it was like to be a kid in those days. So it's like that nostalgia bit for this whole generation that watches a lot on Netflix. I think you hit a lot of people with
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I think it was a nice self-contained story, which I always harp about. It's just in one town. It's not really it kind of, but not really an end of the world thing. It's just like the end of this town. But there's like more mystery to it. Not everything's fully explained, which I liked. I mean, and that season could have stood on its own. It didn't need
Yeah.
a second season. Like you could have just had that season and that would have been fine and
Oh
it
yeah,
wouldn't
no,
need no
Stranger
more
Things could have
explanation.
been Stranger Things could have been one season and I think that we would still be loving it.
But now people expect this whole mythos and lore and what else is out there and there must be more and how does it all work and blah blah blah. Like that's stuff people are looking for now. And then it's really hard to meet. You get the Star Wars thing, like it's hard to meet people's expectations when everybody wants different things.
I want to see them go to the plane of fire this time.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see him fight Orcus, not Demogorgon,
Yeah.
because Orcus is way more metal, in my opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, switching gears a little bit. So
Yeah.
30 plus years after its release,
I read about this the other day. I was like, what?
a minus world has been discovered in the original Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, what is a minus world?
So minus worlds are typically like debug modes or debug levels. It was popularized by Super Mario Brothers because, number one, it's pretty easy to access it in Super Mario Brothers. And what happens is when you get into that level, it's not associated with a world, so it leaves that blank, but it still counts as level 1, so it just shows up as like blank -1. So it shows up as like -1.
Okay.
But they're meant to be sort of testing levels and testing grounds. And so the way you get to it in Legend of Zelda is you actually have to like cheat a little bit. You have to introduce some ability that lets you walk through walls, which is usually done via like hacking, either through like Action Replay or Game Shark or something like that, to figure out how to, enable that ability. And then it turns out the entire map is actually only half of the map. That there's like a
What?
whole nother part below it because it has to be a square. And the Legend of Zelda map is like a big long rectangle. So it turns out that it's just like the map copied back down below. And then there's like a whole bunch of different sprites and everything. Monsters bug out. You like can't really interact with a lot of stuff.
So it's a glitch, but
Yeah, but it's for debugging purposes and like playtesting purposes and everything. For
Okay.
developers to kind of try and figure stuff out. So yeah, there were a lot of graves,
Graves.
like an astoundingly high number of grave markers in the Minus world.
Right.
That's a little bit disturbing.
So yeah, but yeah, it just goes to show, like, I mean, after all that, like, nobody knew that there was one, and then yeah, it was discovered.
So I have a question though.
Yeah.
So was this found on like because NES games are pretty much being able to be found wherever. Was this found on an original cartridge game? Was this found on a ROM
So
of
that
was it
I
found
don't know.
through like was it found like through the NES Classic? Was it found through the NES stuff from Switch? Like
So
that's my question.
okay. Well, so we can rule out a bunch of that stuff because they had to introduce code into the game in order to enable the wall walking.
Okay.
So it was
Okay.
likely a ROM or modding like an NES and a cartridge to figure it out. I'm not
Okay.
that I'm not sure.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Like, there's so many ways that these are out. Like, how was this found?
Yeah, it was just in the video they just explained that they introduced code into it.
Okay.
Likely to prevent like getting a ban from Nintendo for whatever platform they did it for, or you know, if it was
however they
indeed
found
a
it.
ROM. But yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
You know, I mean, because there's some stuff that it's like, you know, if it's a ROM, oh yeah, you can always just add this code to it, and there it is, as opposed to like finding back in like the original Pokemon, it's like finding missing number. It
Yeah,
was like,
well, that's the
you
thing
know
is
what
that
I mean. That's like a different kind of.
you can get
That's a
missing no
different kind
by just like manipulating stuff that you can already do in the game. This had to have
Yeah.
code introduced
Yeah,
to
that's
enable
what
a
I
feature.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like saying, you know, but was this found? So it had to have been okay.
Yeah, that's why. So something like the Super Mario Brothers game,
Mhm.
you know, it's something where if it's like if you go to where there's like a secret warp zone section
Mhm.
in World 1-2, like the underground portion, like you can reach a certain, like if you jump on top of the level and actually just run along the ceiling, you then get dropped down, or can get dropped down into a secret warp zone which warps you to World 2, 3, or 4.
Mhm.
You can then like skip that and go to another one which will take you to like a different one, and then if you like somehow manage to like try and skip through that and you end up like glitching through the wall, you get to a special, you know, minus zone kind of thing where it takes you to 3 warp pipes which are all minus levels. But it is something that you can do just through gameplay.
Yeah.
This does not seem to be that
This has
that
to
case.
be
Yeah.
code has to be introduced.
Yeah, unless you somehow
order to
figure out a
find it.
way to glitch yourself through the wall and go south
Yeah.
past the southernmost point on the Zelda map.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
yeah.
I think it's cool that there's like still this many years later with new technology that they're finding, you know, these other things that were always there, but you know, we just never got the access to them before
Yep.
because we never played around with them looking for something like that.
Yeah. So, and apparently the code introduced was kind of difficult to actually introduce. So there's that too.
Mhm.
So yeah. Moving on from that. So this, I think it was this past week, IBM unveiled their first quantum computer, which this is kind of a
Wow.
big deal. So quantum computing, just as a brief primer based on my kind of limited understanding. So normally,
Big Bang Theory version.
standard computers work via using electricity to essentially create the binary language of ones and zeros, which is just an electrical signal that's on or off. Quantum computing allows you to transmit data that is both on and off, or has the data of both on and off at the same time. Yeah, weird.
I Sean, I don't have my video on today, but you know the voice the face that this voice goes with. I just don't understand how.
Well, it's quantum mechanics, so weird science is how it works.
Oh.
But basically, it uses quantum mechanics to transmit data as if it had both a 0 state and a 1 state, which basically just allows it to transmit a lot more data a lot faster.
So it's Schrodinger's data.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the basis for some quantum theory type stuff.
No, see, I understand Schrodinger, so yes, I can kind of get that on a theoretical process.
So here's the thing. It's like one computer. It's not for consumers.
Does it have Steam?
No, it does not have Steam.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
So what it is
Yeah.
it's used for a lot of
NASA.
like massive data calculation type stuff. So if you need to process large amounts of data to figure things out. So yeah, like stuff with NASA or like stocks,
I was being cheeky.
like
I didn't mean
financial
that, but really?
calculations. Here's the other thing: is that quantum computers have to operate under very specific conditions. These conditions are largely in airless chambers at temperatures well below freezing.
Why?
Is that they have to operate in?
Is it
Because
they get so hot?
it's in order to, well, so it uses like these quantum particles, and
Okay.
those quantum particles have to have those conditions in order to exist. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Forks and stuff.
yeah,
No, like I can actually.
I mean,
kind
so
of-
to use a it's not a great example, but it's just to
example.
illustrate using other sort of physical states. Is say you had a device that runs on water, right? That runs on liquid water, right? You cannot operate that device, in temperatures below freezing, or some degree below freezing, or temperatures that
Above
or
boiling.
above boiling. So
Human
it's kind of like
being.
that. What's that?
Human being.
Yeah,
Machine that runs
kinda.
on water.
Yeah.
Although we can be run way below.
Well, also, yeah, if our core
Freezing.
temperature goes,
Not for long.
our core,
No, but we also have ways to make ourselves.
yeah, but yeah, it requires these specific things. So it's also like in an enclosed chamber, kind of a thing. But IBM does have it available. It's like stationed in their campus it's somewhere in New York.
Dude, New York is 4 to 6 hours away.
Yeah,
Or
I mean it's
unless
somewhere
we're
there.
talking-
But it's
I mean,
available
the state
for
in general is
Yeah.
4 to
In
6 hours.
Mechanicsville. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you just making that up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, but see, the thing is, I know a real Mechanicsville.
I know it's over near Albany.
Yeah. No, it's
There's another
it's
one in Maine, too, actually.
it's down further. Let's see, IBM.
Poughkeepsie.
Nah,
Like it might be somewhere near Poughkeepsie.
Yonkers.
no.
White Plains.
Yes,
So
that's where it is. in
it's
White
called
Plains.
the IBM Q System 1. And it's only accessed via their computing cloud.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's in an airtight case that's 9 feet tall.
Oh, so we're going back to like how big computers used to be.
Yes. Yeah, basically we're going through another round of that kind of stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, so they harness. They're called qubits,
Oh,
which are the
Wait.
It stands for, it's short form for quantum bits.
it sounds like some like crap.
Cubert.
No, it sounds like some crap cryptocurrency.
Well, no. So traditionally, a qubit was an old form of measurement that was your elbow to your fingertip.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's mentioned like in the Bible and stuff. It's a very old form of measurement.
And he raised him 4
you-
cubits above the
BIT.
water.
That's how I measured the
Yeah. Um,
yes. That I
where
was
is it?
thinking like QBI, I was thinking like the spelling that we're talking about now, and then I'm like, oh no, qubits. Yes.
I think you're saying it wrong. I think it runs on Q-Berts. Pretty sure.
But yes, no, the arc was measured in cubits. I believe it was 40 by 40.
I don't know.
Something like that. That sounds right.
Could not fit all the animals. Nah.
Well, all of the animals in the world is a relative term. Um,
But anyway, so back to IBM. Yeah, so it basically it's a big ol' data processing machine that in theory companies will be able to access its computing power via the cloud and then use it to solve problems very quickly and then be done with it.
All right, then what does this mean for regular humans?
Not much.
Yet.
yet.
It's basically just like it's almost like a proof of concept kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But and for enterprise solutions. The idea is that hopefully if it succeeds and they can refine it, then we could start seeing consumer variety quantum computing.
As long as it runs Steam.
What would that even look like?
So
like consumer quantum computing.
basically,
Like
it's the processor for your computer would be in an airtight container.
Yeah.
That would have some sort of shock proofing to also make sure that it maintains a specific electrical state.
This is how you get the Oasis from Ready Player One.
Basically.
okay.
You have to be able to transmit that level of information.
Yeah.
Fast to be able to get basically actual photorealistic graphics.
See, it's funny because all of the Ready Player One stuff, like totally like all about it, but it keeps making me think about this book that I read as a kid called Invitation to the Game, where it was basically this girl was like in this world where like computers took over everything, and um it like robots and computers took over everything, so everybody just like during the day they slept all day and at night they partied all night, and some people got this invitation to this
Sounds a
game.
lot like the Matrix.
It kind of was, only it was even better.
Nothing's better than the Matrix. Take that back.
No, it was even better because so like I don't want to give away too much, but
I'm never gonna read this book. Spoil it.
I was gonna say it was written in 1990. So but the cool thing is this game is actually like a real world simulator of how do these people like basically how do they live, what do they need, and they find that in one of the simulations that they need a doctor. They actually the and they have a friend who was a doctor, and they actually made his job irrelevant and put him into the fun nighttime party places so that he could then join them. And then in the end, they all get transported to this actual deserted island that was so based off of the simulation, or this deserted planet, to like rebuild their lives. And it was all this huge big like the game was this huge big individual simulation to be like, okay, can we actually survive, and like getting everything that they need. And that's like, the more I think about all of that, and I'm like, so it's just like one more step further.
We already live in a simulation. It doesn't.
But
Right, and
no,
there's a
This is
dome covering the sky, right?
Hey, odds are we are in a simulation.
No. Just because Elon Musk said it doesn't make it true.
No, I was saying before he got high on Joe Rogan.
A lot of stuff could have gone better if Elon
That's
hadn't
crazy,
gotten
man.
high
Have
on
you ever
Joe
done
Rogan.
DMT?
But no, like all of this kind of stuff like makes me think about that, and I'm just like, so wait, are the computers eventually just gonna take over?
Yes.
And all we're gonna do is party, and then they're just gonna like end up sending us to this other like they're gonna end up sending us to Mars to recolonize, and we're gonna have to like do it all over again.
I think that's out of the picture. I don't think that's a realistic thing to terraform Mars. I think more and more scientists are, at least what I've been reading, they're like, that's not really a valid option.
Yeah, so
there's other Earth-like planets.
Yeah, the problem with Mars is that it's not big enough to sustain an atmosphere right now. So basically, so realistically, what we need to do is we need to take all the garbage that we've been throwing off in space and send it to Mars to add mass to the planet. And basically, like, to just get it to rust and decompose and everything into the soil, and basically build Mars up so that it can actually attract and keep an atmosphere. And at that point, then you're going to be able to do stuff. Again, it's totally illogical. And
I think
the only reason why it would work is because we're just taking trash and just putting it someplace.
And even though there's a lot of trash in space, a lot isn't that much. I don't.
No, it's just
we're not at Futurama levels.
It's
yet.
It's a lot in orbit.
Yeah, I mean, it's
in
like
space in
enough that I
general.
have to
No,
think
there's not a
about
whole lot.
it and
Yeah,
track it, but like, I wonder what the total mass of all that is. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah,
probably not that much in the scheme of things, considering the amount of area it's orbiting in.
Yeah, well, and considering, I mean, how much is probably re-entered and burned up in the atmosphere as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
but
think of it this way: is we could just take our trash and we could just send it somewhere else. No, it's a dumb idea.
The sun.
No, that's.
I mean, that's the most efficient one.
That's how Trash Island got made, Sean. That's how Trash Island got made.
No, that's how Superman saved the Earth by taking away all the nukes.
That's how Trash Island got made.
Well, Trash Island didn't get made by throwing our trash into the sun.
Yeah, that's my theory. I say we take all the trash and throw it at the sun.
I mean, yeah, that's
How will we get close enough? It's too hot.
That's the point. You shoot a rocket full of trash at the sun with nobody on it.
Yep.
And it burns up.
I realize.
Yep.
I realize. I was trying to make a stupid blonde joke. It didn't work.
Ah.
All right.
Too logical and pragmatic for your blonde jokes.
Well,
you are when I'm trying to make a really funny one.
I'm too machine-like. I can't compute. Maybe if I had a quantum brain.
Yes.
On the topic of what will happen if the machines take over, I didn't put this in the show notes, but there was a not quite. There was a article that came out this week of a drastic machine on machine violent attack in Arizona, where basically
drone versus drone.
No, it was a driverless Tesla struck a it was one of those like promotional robots. They have these like robots that promote like businesses or whatever.
What?
That basically like have little treads and stuff, and they just like they're not very sophisticated, but they just like they like walk down the street and like on roadsides and stuff like
a
that to
Rob
promote
the
businesses.
Robot, something maybe.
A little bit, something like that.
Like a Johnny Five or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's
and I
not
got
creepy at all.
and he got hit by a driverless Tesla. Everybody's fine.
What are they doing in the courts?
They just fixed it back up.
What are
There wasn't a whole lot of damage.
What are the laws? There needs to be laws about
There
this.
are no laws.
So
There's
robots
barely
can do
laws
whatever they
against
want.
cyber. Dude, there's barely laws against cyberbullying. What do you think there's really gonna be laws for robot versus robot crime?
You can't have laws against people saying things. You can't do that.
All right. So anyway,
See,
this was meant to just be a funny.
Sorry, literal First Amendment.
I'm not going there. We don't do that on this show. We don't do that on this show.
I don't disagree with your sentiment. I'm just saying.
We'll just leave it with the fact that hate speech is not covered by the First Amendment, and moving on into copyright. For the first time,
don't be a jerk.
For the first time in 20 years, works are actually entering the public domain once again.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So
Now,
this
my
means
question is,
yeah.
this is really weird to me though, because
yes,
how can things be finally like I understand like the Mickey Mouse lawsuit or copyright law thing like screwed over people for generations to come. But how like copyright is supposed to happen after 100 years. So you're supposed to get 100 years out of it.
yes,
And then it goes into the public domain. That's why about 10 years ago we had this huge influx of all these different Wizard of Oz things because the Wizard of Oz finally started being put into the public domain.
yes.
So like
well, yes and no.
But yes and no, exactly. But like, so how is it that this is just being released?
I'm glad you asked, Courtney, and the answer is Disney. So, what happened is 20 years ago, it was 100 years after the work was made. Ish. I think it was actually shorter than that because
nope. It was 100.
Okay. Well, it was stuff before 1970 was X number of years because it was 1998 was either 1998 or 1999 was the last year that works entered the public domain, and it was from stuff that was like 19 I think, like 1918, 1919. So anyway, what happened was, it was rapidly approaching when Steamboat Willie was going to be entered into the public domain. Disney didn't like that. So, Disney, had, several individuals bring legislation to Congress, and basically they put a moratorium on works entering the public domain, for 20 years. And basically at this point is nobody's bothered to renew it. So it has essentially been lifted. And so works are once again entering the public domain.
Yay! Yes, because the Southern Bono Copyright Term Extension Act has finally come under. Yes, I actually learned about this for first seminar. Words, I swear I have them. Semester, there we go, of grad school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently it's so now that's done. Basically.
Yeah, it's unless another extension is filed, is works will now continue to enter the public domain.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's why it's like at a specific cutoff around early 1900s. There's like 1 year that it entered public domain in the late 90s, and then the next year is now entering this year.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I did look through the list. I didn't really find anything of particular note aside from there's like a couple Robert Frost poems that are now entering public domain. So
Yeah, I mean it's
Good
so tough.
old Bobby Winter.
Really. Uh,
yep.
but yeah, cuz yeah, it's just there's so much I'm not okay with how they had done that, but I'm excited because that means that there will be some new stuff coming in. Um, it's also going to be interesting though because you know Disney, you know that they're going to try and find a way to um, figure out how to extend the date once again.
Well, I could imagine what they'll do is they'll rule that that a particular work. So here's kind of a brief explanation and primer on what you can do now that works are entering the public domain, and what you can't do. Right. So for example, let's say that comes a day when Steamboat Willie enters the public domain. That means that like you could show Steamboat Willie and stuff like that. And like you could potentially like remix it and do your own take on it and everything. However, because Mickey Mouse is still considered a trademark, a registered trademark of the Walt Disney Company, you cannot use Mickey Mouse without a license from the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
So what you could see is kind of like what Walt did with Snow White and the Little Mermaid, stuff like that, is, you know, the general plot of Steamboat Willie would enter into the public domain.
Yeah. You could just have different animated characters.
Yes, and then
So
or your own take on.
Well, no, because there's been 16,000 different Snow Whites and Little Mermaids and
just like how
all of these other things, but those
somebody use a
exact
plot? Like,
but that's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why, because that plot, it's similar to how Disney's been able to make all of these. Think of a big name movie, the Frozen, Snow White,
so here's
Cinderella, all of these things. All of those stories were originally within the public domain. And so the characters that they have made, the characters that Disney made, would say, let's take Frozen for example. The characters of Elsa, Anna, Olaf, Sven, all of those characters, those are Disney's and those are their characters. But the story of what it's based off of, the Hans Christian Andersen's The Ice Queen, that story can still be done by anybody else out there who wants to do it. But they can't use the physical characters that Disney themselves have created.
Well, here's a clearer example.
Steamboat Willie.
Here's a clear example, right? So let's take Snow White as the example, right? The overall story is public domain because it was, you know, written well before copyright law was put into effect. You just can't use Disney's particular rendition and character design of Snow White, or the dwarfs, or, you know, the Wicked Queen or whatever. You can use your own Wicked Queen and your own Snow White and your own dwarfs and everything. It's just that particular style of character design you can't use.
Yeah.
Because it would be
I guess I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you couldn't use the plot.
So
because how can you
for
not
works
every story ever written is using the plot of every other story ever written?
Well, so here's the thing: is to use an example of a book that I read recently this past week. So like Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind, right? Is that story is protected by copyright. What this means is that like I can't go out and basically rewrite The Name of the Wind and then sell it as my own story. like there would have to be enough changes to it where it would no longer be considered like a derivative work, kind of a thing.
Okay.
It would have to be different enough.
Okay.
Now this is
you
also
don't change the name of Kavoth to Bavoth.
no, because
I know.
you would look at it, you would see all the story elements and everything. So like there's a big difference between a story that has the same general themes versus two stories that have very similar details.
What was I talking with somebody about yesterday? I think it was Sword of Shannara. It's basically Lord of the Rings. It feels like almost the exact same story.
Yeah.
It's just so similar.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, so let's use Lord of the Rings as an example. It's one thing to have that your story is there's a powerful item, there is a dark lord that's searching for this item, and if that dark lord gets this item, the world is doomed, and the heroes must go on a quest to destroy it. Because that's basically the plot of Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
That's also basically the
plot of like half a dozen.
I mean, that's also basically the plot of you could argue it's basically the plot of the Black Cauldron, the Dark Crystal.
Star Wars.
Technically, you could argue that it's the plot of Labyrinth. It's just that the powerful item's the main character.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Yeah. It's in the specific details where that would say, like, that you would get into trouble if you were to, say, have the item, like, be a necklace, but it's a bunch of dwarves and elves and one wizard and a bunch of swordsmen that must form a band and then journey through the lands of Midgard and fighting orcs along the way into the land of Mordorheim.
God, that just sounds like a terrible, that just sounds like a combination of Mordor and Anaheim, and that's just not a fun mix.
Yeah.
Mordheim? Mordheim.
Mordheim.
Warhammer. Or I'm thinking Mike Mordheim.
You're thinking of Mike Mordheim.
Yeah.
Blizzard.
I also think Mordheim is a Warhammer city.
Yeah. But and the difference the other difference is that if you're doing it seriously as opposed to doing it as a parody.
Right.
Yes. Because that's where it further gets complicated. Because if you're writing something as satire, that's protected. But it has to there are certain guidelines that you have to follow for rendering it as satire and parody.
Here's an example. People maybe are you familiar with Team 4-Star?
I am
on
not.
YouTube.
No.
They do something called Dragon Ball Abridged.
Yes. Yeah.
DBZ Abridged. Yeah.
So they take episodes of Dragon Ball Z and they redub it.
Yep.
With their own voice actors. They're actually really good. And it's a satire. It's a comedy.
Yes.
It follows the same plot.
Oh, yeah.
All the same plot points, but it's just a satire. They change all the lines.
Yeah.
Sometimes they add in their own redrawings of scenes and stuff like that.
Yep.
But so that's protected by satire.
That is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, I guess I'm just again, I'm always
it's
the gray area. Like where do you draw the line, and how do you who's to say the difference, right? Obviously.
Who's to say the difference is a court of law should you get sued? Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's be real, there is no hard defined line.
Yeah.
It's basically
it's like what's smut? I know what it is when I see it.
If the owner of the copyright feels that your work is too close, they'll bring you to court, and then a court will decide if it's too close. Like
when Vanilla Ice stole Under Pressure.
Yes.
For a sample.
Yeah.
Nice Ice Baby.
But come on, the courts decided that they have that.
Let's go with a more modern example that's in with the kids right now. All these basically hip hop artists are suing oh god, who's the Epic for the dances in Fortnite.
Yo,
Oh yeah.
Carlton's
Yes.
suing-
Carlton
Well, and
suing.
hip hop
Yeah.
artists and Carlton.
Yeah.
Yo, I
And
don't know.
Carlton admits, though, that he's-
and
But
again,
but
this is where it gets interesting because
Yeah.
um
I don't
it's
think you
one
can
of the-
copyright a dance.
Because Carlton
Yeah.
admitted that he stole his dance.
You can't
from
copyright
Courtney.
the movement of the
Well,
movement of the
and
human
here's the
body,
thing.
as far as I'm concerned.
it's you can't copyright a dance, but you can copyright choreography.
Yeah.
I still highly disagree. I don't agree with that.
Well, and it's basically going to be a very interesting case to see where it comes out, because it's generally speaking, most people agree that like these are dances and you can't really copyright them. Like
But when
And-
they're
and-
naming it the Carlton, when they've named the dance the Carlton, and they are naming it in game the Carlton,
Is it
like
named the Carlton in the game? I don't think it is.
yes. Well, I had read an article that I'm pretty sure said it was, but when it's also taking someone's name like that and their or their character, I don't know. Copyright gets weird.
See, now if whoever wrote Fresh Prince would have, if they named it the Carlton, I honestly don't think it's called the Carlton.
I don't think it is either. I would not expect Epic to be that on the nose.
The dance move was actually taken from Courtney Cox in a
Bruce Springsteen video.
Bruce
yes.
Springsteen video.
Dancing in the
Yep.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah, and then over exaggerated.
Yeah.
And he's even said that himself. So I'm just like, I don't understand how that's gonna work, but I'm not the one that has to make the decision.
I mean, because I know, for example, they have Elaine's dance in Seinfeld, but they don't call it like the Elaine.
Yeah.
You know, they'll call it like Hands in the Air or something like that. but I mean, so that's another thing, right? Yeah.
It's just called the dance is just called Fresh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and Fortnite is just called Fresh.
Yeah.
Which
It's an allusion to it,
It is a yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't like, for me, right?
But like
I don't think
that dance
I don't
is
think
so
it's
popular that everybody knows where it comes from.
well, and that's the thing, right? Is that
But
like,
again,
and once it's a dance, it's
can't copyright
Yeah.
the human body's movements.
yeah, and that's where like a single dance you can't. It's where choreography comes in, and
I can
whether
the more
you-
I think about it, I can kind of see choreography.
yeah, because
Even though
Yeah.
because kind of
I'm not
choreography is like
iffy on it.
like it's synchronized and it's put to stuff, and
It's thought
it
out,
could be
it's thought
considered like a big
together.
work in and of itself. Whereas like
Only
It-
because
You
people
can win
are
awards
paid.
for it.
People are
Yes.
paid to create. That's why it's not the awards; it's the pay. Let's be real about our society and what
Yeah.
what matters. So
like
yeah.
Yeah,
for example,
but in my mind, if you can win an award for it, that means that it's something real. Like that's something that you can win an award for this. It can be copyright written.
People can win awards for their
Costumes.
mustaches.
I mean reels. I mean EGOT level here. Emmy, Grammy,
That-
Oscar, Tony.
There's a real competition for mustaches.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
well, so here just to bring it back a little bit, for example, like you can't copyright, the lawnmower or the shopping cart, right?
Or the robot.
Or the robot, like, because, and here's the other thing, it's if a work like kind of enters the public consciousness and becomes enough common use, is then that also I mean that applies more for trademark, but if something becomes common use, that you lose those protections from it because it's now considered public domain, kind of a thing.
It becomes part of the culture.
Yeah, it's why it's why like Band-Aid, Kleenex, and Xerox have such a hard time with their brands because of that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Because
we've gone on
Band-Aid.
long enough on copyright law, But basically just to say,
cool. Things
yay,
copyright.
works are going to be entering public domain pretty soon. So I will say this for basically website owners or for like people that are doing material where you need artwork. It's particularly exciting because it means more paintings are going to be entering the public domain. And public domain paintings are just up for grabs. So, yeah. Like, nobody bats an eye if you use 15th century Italian paintings, to put on your website or something. Because, nobody cares.
Speaking of, one of my favorite new subreddits now is Accidental Renaissance. You ever see those?
Yes.
Oh wait, are those pictures?
There's just
like
pictures. So there's
that
like one the other day. It's Justin Bieber getting choked in the club, and
yes.
he's just like surrounded by. It's like one of those like all these people. It's almost like a Last Supper style painting. Like there's all these people, and there's a dude with his hand around the guy's neck, and it's just like everybody's kind of in motion.
Yeah.
But someone in the suburbs like, oh, actually, this is more of a Baroque style. Blah 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 blah. I was like, oh,
Yep.
whatever.
Well, look, it me.
Yeah, look at me. I know things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know stuff and things.
So, I'll give you some more examples when we get off stream. They're not appropriate for the
sure.
streaming audience. Let me put it that way. All right. So that covers the general geeky news this week. So let's dive right into
Copyright law, folks.
let's dive right into what's going on this week in 8-Bit Adventures.
Woo.
All right. So, just to quickly go over what's going on this week. Tomorrow night is 8-Bit Adventures game night. Will either be Monster Hunter or Path of Exile, depending on what I feel like playing. It'll probably be Monster Hunter. I'm really enjoying how the capture card's working. And we'll actually do a full Palico Prowlers stream. Since I had some individuals pop into the stream last time I did that, and they got up. They were kind of upset that I was not actually playing as the Palicos. So, and for people that don't know, Palicos are they're little cat people. They're like little cats that wear armor, and they wield weapons, and they're your little buddies that accompany you on monster hunts. There is a mode in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate where you can play as one and still get cat buddies. So you just have like 3 cats running around destroying giant monsters. Yeah.
That is so many different types of adorable.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be that. So that is tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Friday night, Tales of Jamora: The Kraken's Wake. Episode 7. 7 episodes in, you guys. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Where we'll be seeing more of the Night Watchers.
Ugh, this is gonna get interesting.
Yes.
This is just gonna get very, very interesting.
Yep.
And I never realized exactly how twisted May was, or exactly how much May maybe actually hates Jacobin until this past week.
Yep.
So this is gonna be fun to see how that goes.
Yep. And then we've also had 2 comics since we last did a podcast.
Yes.
So we had 248 and 249, Peasantry and Distraction.
Yes. Oh.
So Courtney, what are your thoughts?
My first so I'm gonna start in order. So we're gonna start with Peasantry. Oh my gosh. That's what Melody's parents look like. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That was kind of my first everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then like her yeah, no, her mom is really or no, it's her dad that's really, really annoying.
He's
Calling-
very outwardly just dismissive and
Yes.
uh
Yes.
whereas her mom is intended to be like outwardly nice but still kind of has that tone of passive aggressiveness
Yeah. It's
and
I
elitism.
I yeah, just a little bit of elitism. I was I was a little bit like, wait, Melody was just like, what did he just say? Like, I'm thinking, like, girl's got a knife in her hand, and you just called out and let her know that her parents are here. She is going to throw that at somebody, and it's not going to be pretty, whoever she throws it at.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then and then her father just calls this all the peasantry, and the pineapple ninjas. I pineapple ninja's gonna throw something at him now. Like, that is my thought of, like, somebody is going to throw something at these guys, and it is not gonna end well. Um, and that's exactly what dishonor brings us into, or distraction. I mean,
Well, nothing gets thrown per se. It's
well,
just
it
you
looks
basic
like it's gonna start getting thrown.
it's
Just
just
gonna get.
tensions are high among
Yeah,
the 99 fruit ninjas
fruit
that are on the
ninjas.
floor.
Yep. Who could easily overtake the Lord and Lady Star Song if they wanted to.
Um maybe but for anyone that's read the fantastic comic series Dr. McNinja, uh you would know that there is such a thing known as the law of inverse ninjas, where an individual ninja's power is inversely proportional to the number of ninjas present.
Huh?
One ninja, very powerful. 99 ninjas are the equivalent of 199th of the power of one ninja.
Oh, great. I mean, Pile will still work. I don't care who you are. I don't care how strong you are.
Yo, ain't you ever seen Naruto when Madara beat like the whole Ninja Alliance army by himself?
I just prefer when uh Rock Lee goes to fight Gaara and should have won.
Yo, that's maybe still one of the best parts of all of Naruto. Period.
Oh yeah,
It's good. There's a
there's
really
Yeah.
good part where Might Guy fights towards the end, and it's pretty. He unlocks all the gates, and it's pretty awesome.
The best version I've seen of the Lee Gaara fight is the Giles team goes with everything version, where it's basically that, but the moment he just like takes the bands off, then it starts
Yeah.
playing the Giles theme, and he just like bam 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 bam, and they cut it out before he ends up losing. Yeah, but yeah. So, anyway, yes. So we're gonna see some Shadow Sneak shenanigans.
Yeah. I'm a little sad that they're just gonna sneak out of there.
Uh, yeah.
I mean, I get it, but like, I'm a little sad that they're just gonna sneak out. Like, I want her to beat the ninjas and then show her parents, see, I've got what it takes. Like,
It's more the fact, and this is the benefit
at the
for
very least, I want her to shut her parents up and be like,
this is
see,
some insider info for the stream audience.
woo,
But her parents are the equivalent of boss class monsters.
boss class monsters.
Yes, they are very powerful.
What?
Mostly due to financial wealth, because they're both merchants.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all stuff that will come out very soon, because there will be some sort of exposition. But Yeah. So
I'm a little bit sad though that they're gonna sneak out. My question is though, is how far are they going to sneak? Is the question.
as far as needed. But so basically, we have seen Shadow Sneak kind of works like a very short. It's almost like Misty Step from
Yeah.
D&D. Doesn't go very far, but
Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering is how far will they shadow sneak? Because I know it doesn't go very far.
well,
I know it doesn't.
It's
it
not.
doesn't go very far.
It's not the distance of the Shadow Sneak. It's how many Shadow Sneaks you do. So we'll see with that.
Combo.
Nah, just casting and recasting. I mean, given enough turns, you can Misty Step your way across, quite a distance. It's not very efficient, unless there's obstacles in your way. But so yeah. And finally, I am working on a little bit of a secret project that is 8-bit adventures related. That basically taking another crack at an RPG Maker game.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I figure I wondered.
That's what the posting was on Facebook the other day. Yeah.
I figured something. I figured
so,
you were doing something like that.
It's taking elements. It's kind of incorporating ideas from several big games. So some ideas from Octopath, some ideas from Pokemon, some ideas from World of Warcraft, some ideas from Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior. I guess it was called back in the day when I played. So yeah. And some elements from D&D. So, working on basically a demo right now, and using next step is to kind of upload some artwork in there for sprites. So yeah, when the demos are ready, that will be available for captain level patrons.
Captain?
It's either captain or adventure. Whatever the $2 patron level is, will be available for them. So what I would do is I would do it where like $10 patrons get it right away, and then the next week like $5 patrons get it, and then the next week $2 patrons get it. But I don't think Patreon has that kind of output. It's basically you can set a tier and then it just unlocks it to the public afterward. But so yeah, managed to get a lot of work done on it over the weekend, and very excited. So yeah, managed to. I figured out a lot of things that have been kind of jumping around in my brain regarding RPG Maker and how to code stuff and everything. So finally managed to sit down and like actually get stuff done, which feels good.
Good. Yay.
So, some things to note is it will have random encounters as opposed to like on-map encounters.
Oof.
But there will be plenty of ways to ignore them. So, one of the things that I'm toying around with is sort of like Pokemon, having it be so that only certain areas, you would have to go into certain areas in order to have random encounters, including in dungeons. So that way, it would make it entirely optional.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Because everyone hates random encounters.
Yeah.
I don't.
Ugh, they're the worst.
It's just it ends up being a much lower drain on resources than doing on-map encounters.
Yeah.
It's also, maps are going to be very small, so this will also prevent the player from like getting bunched into a corner by a whole bunch of encounters that you then have to fight to get out of. I I also don't know if RPG Maker can do 8 directional movement. So also to evade encounters becomes very difficult and annoying when you only have 4 directions to choose from. But yeah, it's something where, like, in a dungeon there may be like a different colored floor that if you run on that would have it. I would normally just do like what Bravely Default did and have a slider. But as of right now, that capability does not exist. And I'm not sure anybody's created a plugin for that yet. JavaScript plugin. But normally that would just be the way to do it, is just, on the fly to decide, oh, I don't want to do encounters anymore, so I'll just turn the slider all the way down to 0. That was an interesting thing that game did, is you could turn on or off like XP gain, gold gain, job point gain, and random encounters, so that you could artificially make the game much more difficult for yourself by like turning off XP gain, gold gain, job point gain, and just like turning random encounters on high. Or you could turn everything off and then just like basically just have boss fights.
I like that game, but have you played it?
No.
Yes.
I don't like the whole mid-game twist.
Yeah, I've heard. I have heard that chapter 5, I think, there's basically a twist, and then they recommend like that you don't just like that you actually take breaks from like chapters 5 through 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a bit annoying.
This would have a very simple plot. Because it's 8-bit adventures, so it will likely be something like, I'm gonna make the world's greatest pie cake. We gotta find the ingredients.
Yes.
So we must travel to the 8 lands to get an ingredient from each one.
Yes.
Or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Hey, Pokemon gets away with having basically no story. And the idea is that there's going to be a lot of classes to unlock, each with their own unique mechanics and everything.
Cool.
So, and then taking things like, thinking about roles like from World of Warcraft. So, like monks are a tanking class that focus on evasion, whereas like dryads are a sort of unique healer type class where they have a very high HP pool, and one of their most powerful healing abilities basically like cuts they spend their own hit points and then redistribute them amongst the party.
Oof.
So yeah. So as of right now, there's monk, there's chef, there's mage, dryad, thief, and ninja created for classes.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I'm super excited. Things finally work. Figured stuff out. So yeah. So
nice.
Do we have anything else before we end for the night?
Quit WoW and play Final Fantasy 14. Anybody out there? It's a better MMO, in my opinion. Big patch just dropped yesterday. Great.
Actually, Courtney, what are you doing tomorrow night at 8 p.m.? Oh, did we lose Courtney?
Maybe.
I think we may have lost Courtney. Oh well, folks, I'll see if maybe I'll grab Courtney and we'll do some multiplayer Monster Hunter tomorrow evening for 8-Bit Adventures game night.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but with that, we are gonna jump off. So, have fun, everyone. Happy gaming. Enjoy your pie cake, and if you live in the Berkshires, get yourself shoveled out.
Didn't snow that much.
Not that much, but it was snowing all day.
Yeah.
So, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Well,